It's just going through a process of setting up to record and broadcast, so it'll just be a moment.
I see you now.
Can you see us now?
Yes.
Okay. So may I call the meeting to order then? Okay, so it's 6:11 and this is Randy Sweet, calling the Seldovia Planning Commission meeting for October 1st to order. And I guess, do you want me to call the roll or, okay, I guess if the city manager can call the roll, we'll go forward from there.
Okay. Commissioner Forsberg. Commissioner Sweet.
Yes.
Commissioner Kroll.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Ryan.
Yes. Here.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Just got a question here. This was just copied over. It says September 3rd. Okay, okay. All righty, we'll go ahead, and I'd like to get a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner Kroll. Could I get a second?
Yeah, I can second that. This is Allison.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryan. And then if we can have a roll call for the approval of the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would just like to point out that there is a typo at the bottom or at the top of this agenda where it should state Wednesday, October 1st, 2025, not September 3rd. That was a carryover from the last meeting. So we will fix that in the minutes. And then so that'll be Commissioner Sweet.
Yes.
Commissioner Kroll.
Yes.
And Commissioner Ryan.
Yes.
Motion, with three yeses, motion passes.
And the next item, agenda item is the approval of the minutes for the September 3rd. If I could get a motion for the approval of the minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Kroll. And if I could get a second.
I can second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryan. I just guess from a procedural standpoint, I have a comment on the minute. So before, I'm not sure if, since do we need to vote on it first, or we can have the discussion? So I had a question on the minutes. This is with respect to Jenny Chisses had brought up the information about the difficult properties and some of the things that might be considered for any kind of special considerations for difficult lots. And I thought that one of the things that had occurred in that discussion was that the staff was going to look at any possible zoning regulations on difficult lots for difficult properties. And I don't see that in the minutes. So I just wanted to call that to your attention. And if that could be incorporated, and otherwise I don't see any changes. And do either of the commissioners have any other comments on the minutes at this time?
I don't.
Okay, Thank you, Commissioner Ryan. Commissioner Kroll, do you have any comments on the minutes?
No comments.
Thank you. And then if we can go ahead and do a roll call on the approval of the minutes and understanding that the changes, that the items will be corrected.
And just as a point of order, Commissioner Sweet, would you want to have the minutes brought back for approval? Or are you comfortable with staff making that correction as stated?
I think it would be, I would be fine with having the staff make the correction and then we can just move on.
Okay. Then as a matter of roll call for the motion to approve the minutes of September 3rd, 2025, Commissioner Sweet,
Yes.
Commissioner Kroll,
Yes.
and Commissioner Ryan.
Yes.
With 3 in the affirmative, motion passes.
And then item E is public comments regarding items not on the agenda. Do we have any public that wants to comment?
I'm not seeing any hands raised, Madam Chair.
And there is no public in the meeting, in the building. Public hearing prior notice, we have no, we have none. Consideration of site plans, we have none. And then that takes us to commission business and the draft ordinance amending the chapter 17.04 of the building code and adopting chapter 18.66, the site development standards. And I'd like to pass this on to the city manager for a briefing to the commission.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this was a discussion at your September 3rd meeting, and feedback was received. There was a memo and a list of questions. We received feedback from the commission off of those questions and were able to complete another revision. So you'll see a memo, an updated memo on page 8 and 9 of your packet, followed by version 3 of the draft ordinance starting on page 10. And with that memo, it just gives a little bit of the background, as was previously stated in the memo from the last meeting, and then talks about the changes to the ordinance with an update to those changes after the revocation of a permit detail. Everything above that was previously in the ordinance at the last meeting, including site development standards for slopes, drainage, and landscaping was discussed. Revegetation standards were discussed. Site plan requirements was already in there. And the continuation of requiring a new application fee for application resubmissions was agreed on by the commission, as well as a closeout requirements or a process for closeout requirements that includes either an as-built or a certificate of completion. And I should state this also includes a midpoint check. So we'll get there when we review the ordinance itself, but just to give you an update, those were the things that were discussed at the last meeting. And then I put on here next steps, just thinking through as we review this ordinance with the newly incorporated site plan requirements and revegetation standards. We'll look at that site inspection and final completion language, and we can follow up with a recommendation to the city council for a fee for site development. So right now we have a fee for new residential or commercial structure, a fee for accessory structures, additions and remodels. For additions and remodels under 400, so it's above 400 square feet, under 400 square feet. And then no permit is required for projects under 100 square feet, but a verification form is required to confirm exemption. And then I also included a draft building permit application for your review that would accompany this ordinance. And if you have any recommended additional feedback or changes to the ordinance or building permit application, and then hopefully we can capture those this evening. I know Commissioner Ryan did send a few to City Clerk Diamond, who is unfortunately not here at this moment. She may be joining us a little bit later. So if you can review those with us as we go through this process, that would be great. And then if there are no additional feedback or changes that would require a revision and review by the draft ordinance by the Planning Commission, then it can be referred or recommended, I should say, to the Seldovia City Council for their recommendation. Or for their consideration. So with that in mind, the draft ordinance remains relatively similar to the last time you guys saw it. However, you'll see in highlight on page 17 on page, I'm a little frazzled tonight if you can't tell, 15, you'll see in highlight section 17.04.060, site inspection and final completion. There's new language there that says prior to completion of the foundation and framing of a structure, the owner or lessee of the lot or person authorized in writing by the owner or lessee shall notify the city of the project's progress, and the city staff shall visit the site and perform a setback and height inspection. If the work is found to have been completed in compliance with the plans and documents and all other city requirements have been met, the city will issue a notice to proceed. So it's a two-step process. A notice to proceed, and then included in that is that we can require a third-party inspection for setback inspection if the setbacks third party that might need some working. The city may require a third-party inspection for the setback inspection if the setback is not able to be easily determined by city staff. So you might need a setback check if it's not clearly marked. And then the language that was in there before, that prior to the city's issuance of a certificate of completion for a project or development falling under the purview of the section, the owner or lessee of a lot or a person authorized in writing, shall let us know that it's completed. And then there'll be a site check if the work is found to be completed. And all other requirements have been met, the city will issue a COC. So both the midpoint check for height and setbacks, and then a certificate of completion that follows that. Then if we keep moving through, we did also update the ordinance, and previously, and I didn't highlight it, I should say previously, you'll see that on page 16, 17.04080, that if the building permit is denied and the applicant resubmits the application with changes to the city, the application fee must be paid again. And that is in the existing code, but I just wanted to point that out because we discussed that at the last meeting. So left that to stay the same there. And then if we go into site development standards, these were updated, and I was a little bit remiss. I didn't bold or underline because the whole thing is new. Some of this was already there that you discussed at the last meeting, but this whole chapter 18.66 would be a new chapter that would be adopted. And so it has your site development standards general, and then site development, and then underneath that gives some policy to follow for natural drainage and landscaping requirements, erosion fill standards, and what should be on a site plan, as well as that visibility of intersections, 18.66090. And this is already in code. It's all over code in every district. That language of visibility at intersections is already in there. So by moving it in here, we can actually extend this ordinance to remove it out of all of the other chapters. and that'll just make it a little bit cleaner. So the overall intent of these standards, as stated under 18.66020, is to not adversely impact other properties, right? That's the hope and dream here, is that a development shall not adversely impact other properties by causing damage, alteration of surface water drainage, surface water ponding, slope failure, erosion, siltation, or root damage to neighboring trees or other adverse effects. And that upon completion of earthwork, all exposed slopes and all cleared, filled, and disturbed soils shall be protected against subsequent erosion by methods such as, but not limited to, landscaping, planting, and maintenance of vegetative cover. So then we talk below that on the natural drainage. This has come up multiple times in the last couple of years. And that to the biggest extent possible, the site plan and development activity shall not restrict natural drainage patterns, except as provided in the subsection. And so to the maximum extent feasible, as we discussed, the natural surface drainage patterns unique to the topography and vegetation of the site shall be preserved. They can only be modified through a site development plan approved by the city manager, and so that's through the building permit process like we discussed. And upon showing that there'll be no significant adverse environmental impacts on the site or on adjacent properties. So again, protecting our neighborhoods and our neighbors during development. If natural drainage patterns are modified, appropriate soil stabilization techniques shall be employed. And again, and then it talks about the grading necessary to ensure that drainage flows away from all structures for a distance of at least 10 feet, especially where building pads are cut into hillsides, and that the development activity shall not cause an adverse effect on adjacent. So that's in there twice. And maybe it doesn't necessarily need to be, but it's that's the measure of the activity. Any questions so far before I move on to the next couple of sections here?
I have this is Chair Sweet. I just have a question about the term adjacent. I'm assuming that means next to or near it. So, because it may not be an adjoining lot, but it may be flowing onto another lot.
Mhm.
So that is just so that it's clear that it could be it's the runoff is directly impacting a lot either next to or so I wasn't sure legally what that term meant. So just to be sure that we're covering the impact of some change on one lot affecting another lot.
Madam Chair, thank you for bringing that up. I will double check on that.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, and then landscaping requirements we talked about at the last meeting. And so here again, it talks about upon completion of earthwork, all exposed slopes and all cleared and filled disturbed soil shall be protected, not adversely impacting other properties by causing damage, alteration of surface, water drainage, surface potting, and that the property owner and developer shall take such steps, including installation of culverts or buffers or other methods as necessary to apply with this requirement. All exposed, cleared, and filled and disturbed soils shall be revegetated within 9 months following the initiation of earthwork. Native vegetation is acceptable if the site naturally revegetates within that 9-month period. If native revegetation is not successful within the 9-month period, the property owner and developer shall revegetate by other means no later than the 9 months. And drainage can be stabilized by other means than vegetation if approved in writing by the city manager. The next one is erosion control. So talking about erosion control methods approved by the city manager, including without limitation, sediment traps, small dams and barriers shall be used during construction and site development to protect water quality, control soil erosion, and control the velocity runoff. Having vegetation remain undisturbed as little, or having it disturbed as little as possible or only as necessary. And then native vegetation being the preference for replanting. Grading shall not alter the natural contours of the terrain except as necessary for building sites or to correct unsafe conditions. And the locations and buildings and roads shall be planned to follow and conform to existing contours as nearly as possible. So trying to prevent erosion. And then we have some fill standards in here, which I, don't know how much we need this because it seems like we're more cutting than filling, but it just seemed like having this available that it would behoove us to include it in case it does come up. The fill materials shall be free of large organic debris, including without limitation stumps, construction or demolition debris, including without limitation concrete and asphalt, garbage and any material that's categorized as hazardous or toxic under federal or state law. Don't fill with it. Fill material that will not support a structure may include large organic debris that originated on the lot where the fill is placed, provided that it is capped with clean fill for future landscaping or driveway use. So if you're not putting a structure on it, you can put some trees and other big things underneath it, stumps, I should say. And then before any fill is placed, a grading plan for the lot must be approved. And that should be said by the city manager, not engineer. And the grading plan shall follow, and it gives a list of things that it should follow. Best management practices shall be used to limit sedimentation and stormwater runoff, again, going back to drainage, and shall be installed before fill is placed on the lot. So they all kind of meet together. Not placing fill closer than 5 feet to a side or rear lot line. Because we have seen that where people have gone right up to the line to either excavate or fill, and that's caused erosion issues on neighboring properties. The placement of fill shall be completed within 24 months of commencement, and the fill area shall be capped and seeded as soon as possible. And then we have under there the site plan instructions, and those were in there in the previous discussion and are things that we already require for the building permits. So just keeping those in there, except, we haven't called out elevation drawings before, but if we're looking at elevation, that's helpful. And it also includes some more of the site features and conditions such as topography, drainage, streams, water bodies, wetlands, lines of mean high tide, storm berms, areas prone to erosion, and general location of vegetation. And those are things that have been helpful in the past when people do include them, especially if they're doing a building over the slough. So we do ask for them, and it's nice just to have that included as a requirement for that building permit. And if that's works for you guys, that is what I have so far. I would want to point out on page 22 that this is what the code was for building permits, or is right now. So 4 paragraphs. So we've definitely extended it a little bit. And a lot of that's procedural and things that we already do, like what should be on the application and, how an application can be revoked, but just extending that out in code. And I can talk about the building permit next, but if you guys want to talk about the ordinance first, I'll pause there.
So do the commissioners have any comments? Commissioner Kroll, do you have any comments?
No, that's good.
And Commissioner Ryan, do you have any comments?
I had sent in a comment about having the city verify that you didn't need an application. And I was just looking at the frequently asked questions page. Are we going to get to that later? Because I think maybe that's exactly where that should be put.
Okay. I guess I have, so what I I'm just kind of recapping what I understand. With this new code, we're pulling information from other places in the code, and it's in one spot where people who are developing building sites would be able to go. So we're making it, this is part of helping to make it user-friendly, to make sure people know what is expected of them. I do have a question, because this is kind of referring back to the comprehensive plan. There was a discussion about environmental, and is that discussion that was talked about environmental, is that referring to this? I wasn't quite sure, because that had to do with development, and I'm just looking for clarity in terms of things that we're talking in the comprehensive plan and what that refers to, and then what we're trying to accomplish here in this sort of site development ordinance, I guess. Thank you.
Madam Chair, thank you for bringing that up. Yes, so in the work session held by the City Council on Monday discussing the comprehensive plan, the action to require environmental reviews for development in the community came up. That was an action item that was in the 2014 comprehensive plan. And I did point out that though it's not a full environmental review, the Planning Commission is working on a site development procedure, or including site development as part of the building permit process in order to address impacts to neighboring properties from development that may be occurring. So while I don't think it's the full scope of an environmental review, and the mayor did talk about what, that might not be easily done or worthwhile. Worthwhile is probably not the right word, but while that might not be feasible to do a full environmental review for any kind of construction happening in the community, that perhaps this is a way that we can have a process for development that gives some oversight to limit impact to others.
So this is kind of a mini environmental review with regard to the things that we're talking about as far as site development, and it's at a scale that's appropriate for individual development. And then I think the other thing that was talked about was if there was a larger development that would require other things, but at this point, this work effort does take us to a place where there's oversight on the site development, and if anything comes up, then at least that it would be the time that reviews would be done at that level. And then we're making sure that the work that's being done is not causing negative impact. And so we're working our way at a level of effort that is consistent with the work that we're doing in our community.
Madam Chair, thank you for pointing that out. I would also like to point out that when we're talking about site development activities, per page 12, it does list that site development activities are for land disturbance, the grading, excavation, or paving on lands with slopes in excess of 10%. Or an area that might be reasonably expected to impact drainages or wetlands from grading, excavation, or paving, or that will create an impervious surface of such extent that might reasonably expect it to be impact drainages or wetlands. So if somebody's clearing their lot, they have a flat lot, and they're taking trees down and they're clearing it, and they're not really, disturbing the slopes or drainage of the slot. I mean, taking trees down could potentially because of the roots, but I guess what I'm trying to say is we're not, there are places that potentially wouldn't require a site development permit because the impact is low. We're trying to make sure to capture areas that would have a bigger impact with slopes and with drainage that will that could possibly bother or impact neighboring properties. So not trying to do this arbitrarily, but with the intent that it could.
And I guess our original discussion was sort of topographical impact, and
Mhm.
that's kind of where we started. So we're attempting to meet that. I guess the main thing is, are we having any impact that's significant either to the environment or to neighbors? And then that way, if we are, then there are things that are there are ways to remediate those things.
Yes, and I believe there was a spot in here that talked about that an engineer may be needed for commercial projects, but maybe I read that somewhere else. I could have sworn that was included in here as well. Or you know what that's in the building code that we are attached to. So that's a part of it as well as that this is the building permit application, but the city has also adopted code in Title 17 for building and fire and the different development codes out there, international and national codes. So it is included in there that construction or that commercial projects can require an engineer. So
Thank you.
anything else on the ordinance? Okay, then we'll move on to the building permit. And that is on page 23. The frequently asked questions are updated. And yes, Commissioner Ryan, we do have, and we do require that an applicant goes through a flow chart to show if a building permit is not required. And we could make sure that that is better explained on here. If we could expand that under even question 1, that the flow chart is available and is required to be filled out. And then you had a suggestion, right, that it should, I think I do remember seeing that it should be posted instead of the building permit, if in order for neighbors and others to be aware that a building permit is not required. Was that one of your suggestions, Commissioner Ryan, or am I just remembering falsely here?
I don't know that it needs to be posted, but it just was said to be required so people actually didn't just like, well, I don't need a permit, that you actually, it's a verification that it's just like if somebody sees something getting built and they're like, oh, I wonder if they got a permit, and then the person, instead of talking to that builder, would come into the city office. You guys would know about it if it needed a permit or not. But I don't think it needs to be posted outside.
Okay.
Construction.
So we can better clarify that on these frequently asked questions that.
Right, that they should at least verify that they don't need a permit.
Yes.
So everybody's in the loop kind of on that.
Okay. We can do that. And then building permit application, very similar to the existing application, except, and so starts on page 24, that we have included the demolition and removal of the building, site development, and building relocation. as well as we included a little table on the bottom of page 24 that asks the questions. Some of them were located on this page in the previous application, and some of them were located in this. We had like an initial chart on the second page. So that chart has been removed because we actually developed one in house that the staff uses that we like a little bit better because we put more notes on it and have more information, and then we sign off on it. And we could add a part to that to have a commissioner sign off on that part too, just verifying what the applicant puts. That second page did have the applicant sign off on it, but my logic was the applicant is filling this out. So if they're filling it out, they should know what they're filling out versus having to sign off that they filled it out. So it also helps staff because not only are we asking, I think before it was just like square footage of the project, and then on the second page, square footage of the overall lot. Here it actually will help do the work for us. So square footage of existing structures, then new structures, and then total, 'cause that's something that we look at as lot coverage, which is the total square footage divided by the total lot size, and building heights, existing and new, if they're changing that. Building setback, the smallest setback to the lot line, and the existing, new, total again. Dwelling units, existing, new, total. If they don't have an answer, of course, they can leave it blank or put NA. And off-street parking, same, as well as number of stories is just total, because that's something that we asked previously. On page 25, the project terms are still there listed. And then we get under or get to the site development standards for all projects. Again, talking about not adversely impacting other properties by causing damage, alteration of surface water drainage, surface water ponding, slope failure, erosion, siltation, intentional or inadvertent fill or root damage to neighboring trees or other damaging physical impacts. So having them initial each of these sections that they've read them, drainage design, it needs to be an engineered drainage system or a natural drainage, erosion control methods. All exposed, cleared, filled, and disturbed soils must be revegetated. For structure removal, demolition, all utilities will be properly removed or capped and inspected by the city. That one's not in code, but that is something that Public Works has asked, which is why we were very curious and interested in the removal of buildings. Not necessarily that we care that somebody is removing a building, but that our utilities are properly taken care of once the building is removed. That we've had issues in the past, and Public Works has asked that we be mindful of that in the future. Grading shall not alter natural contours of terrain except as necessary to ensure the vehicles has good visibility at street intersections. That's that language of visibility, and that was on the previous building permit, but having it now, or having it here as well. That a site plan is required, that an as-built or certificate of completion from the city office is required for all new structures greater than 400 feet. And that this permit must be posted in a prominent place. Then we ask for additional information, whether they need a driveway permit, a construction in the right-of-way permit, water and sewer. If it's already there, it'll be included in the project, or if it's not required. And then any copies of other required permits and approvals, such as state of Alaska or federal permits, fire marshal permits for commercial project 4 units or more, and other Tidelands, Kenai River Center, commercial conditional use permit variants, etc. Certification remains similar to the previous building permit. And then you'll see a site plan checklist on page 26 that just goes over the things that we want to see on a site plan. So it's a little bit more in depth than our previous instructions for site plan. And we talk about additional drawings that we require. One is a map of the lot location in the city, and then elevation drawings if applicable, as well as other recommended drawings, which were already existing. You'll see this nice example site plan that we stole right from Homer on the next 2 pages, and then a graft for anybody who needs a graft. Following that is the existing permit, so you can see the difference between the two, and open and hoping for questions and comments from the commission.
Commissioner Kroll, do you have any comments?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Ryan, do you have any comments?
I think my comments were taken care of. Well, I did have that comment about the site distance that it's just hard for me to imagine what that is all talking about. So it would be nice if there was a drawing about that, just because it just doesn't make sense to me. And I imagine, well, maybe other people, it can make sense to, but it doesn't make sense to me.
It wasn't, when you were talking, it wasn't quite clear. Could you say that again, please?
There's the visibility requirements for lots being developed on an intersection or structure being developed on an intersection so that it doesn't get in the way of cars. But it's just the way it's worded. My brain can't understand what it's saying. And so but as long as people that are applying for permits can figure it out, I guess. And it's been that way for a long time. I'm not going to be developing any property. So.
And Commissioner Ryan, are you referring to the 18.66.090? Is that what you're referring to?
Oh gosh, let's see. It's at the very end of the whole
it's on
site.
page 20, I believe.
Yeah.
It's there's 2
Right, and then it's repeated in the building permit application wording too, the same
Is it
exact
okay,
same
so
wording.
that's
I still don't understand what that's all about. I mean, I know it's all about. It's about being able to see it, intersections, but how to determine it is hard for me to understand.
Through the
And-
chair. So are you requesting an example of what that looks like? I think we could do that.
Okay, that's it. Yeah, just an
I
example.
guess I do have a comment.
go ahead, Commissioner Kroll.
Let's see on the site plan or idea there, page 26. It says drawing your site plan is easier. It's got a typo there. Plan is, but I probably just take out the whole sentence. I mean, it just flows better. But anyway, that was all I had.
We could take out that whole couple of sentences right there. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Crowe.
And then, so as far as, so in terms of how we proceed, will you make the corrections as provided? And then at this point, is it ready for the city council to review, and are you expecting to do a workshop with them to review this ordinance and the application?
Through the chair, that might be a good idea. That seems to have worked well for the last couple of items the commission's recommended to the council.
I think so. It seems to give them time to get their, just have a set time to review and discuss and then provide feedback. And then by the time it gets to the city council for action, then it seems to help them have a productive session. So at this point, would you want the commission to recommend moving this to the city council with the changes that have been discussed?
Madam Chair, if you guys are ready for that, that could be the direction that it's gone.
Okay, and then Commissioner Kroll, do you have any feedback on moving in that direction?
No, that sounds fine.
And then Commissioner Ryan, do you have any feedback on that?
No, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, so then I just wanted to make sure that we were good to stop here, and then I'll go ahead and ask for a motion to, oh, I'm sorry. Does the public have any comment on this issue? Thank you. And then, so at this point, I'll go ahead and ask for a motion to approve the discussed ordinance with the changes that have been provided to the city manager, and to forward that to the city council. And if I could have a motion on that.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we would forward the ordinance with the changes we discussed tonight to the city council for their
Thank you,
consideration.
Commissioner Ryan, and then Commissioner, then if I could have a second.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Kroll, and then if the city manager could take the roll.
Commissioner Sweet,
Yes.
Commissioner Kroll. Commissioner
Yes.
Kroll. Commissioner Ryan.
Yes,
With 3 yes, motion passes.
And then the next item is staff reports.
Through the chair. So thank you. Upcoming and open commission business, just giving you a recap of things that are on the docket. Cedar Street Extension, I believe, is still in the same location it was last meeting. City Clerk Diamond did meet with one of the property owners, and he has let her know that he intends to submit a building permit application, or at least building plans, to discuss next steps and what that looks like for potentially incorporating a public use easement or a replat for that Theater Street extension. Planning website updates have started. It's looking really good. City Clerk Diamond was going to run you through it. I'm sorry, I am not set up for it at this point, but if you get on the website and have a chance to peruse it, I recommend it. She's not done yet. The permitting process still needs to be further developed, where there's a page for each permit and that discussion, as well as diving a little bit more into the commercial business district in each district. So, but it's definitely in process and looking great so far. She's doing an excellent job. And sorry, I'm taking notes for her as I'm speaking, so that's not as easy as it looks. And abatement and public nuisance draft ordinance. So that was referred to council. City Clerk Diamond did catch something in it. It was sent back to legal along with a question. Legal reviewed it, did send back. We have in our possession the updated draft ordinance. Needs to be reviewed by staff again. And then potentially, if it looks if it looks good, then it would go to the city council at their October 24th, I think is that meeting. I'll have to double check the date. October 20th. Let me look where I start spouting off random dates. I was way off. October 27th. October 27th meeting. And so we'll look forward to that. The administrative public hearing draft ordinance, we will be working with legal on in the future, and we have had some great discussions in-house and actually with other communities. For instance, the city of Homer, who utilizes the state for their administrative hearings. So that sounds like that could be a really feasible option. So looking forward to that. Communications towers have not made any headway on that one yet. And then alternative subdivision development standards we discussed at the last meeting. City Clerk Diamond is working on that. We were just discussing it today as well as a list of resources for that. So that should be coming at an upcoming meeting. If there are anything else you guys would like us to add to this list, please let me know.
I have a question.
Mhm.
This is Commissioner Sweet. Does this include the conversation on ADUs?
It does not. So would you
Okay,
like
should
to
we
add
have
that to your
Yeah,
list?
because we identified that as a topic of interest, I guess.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Does Commissioner Ryan or Commissioner Kroll, do you, either one of you have any other issues that you wanted to add to the list of ongoing business?
Not at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Kroll.
There's another street, the one that was being discussed at last meeting, that Jenny Chisos was speaking towards is the standards that could be changed for that area, I guess is what it is, because of the topography there. Is that another additional project that's, oh, I don't remember the name, Block Street, is it? Or it's a street that doesn't exist.
Right. So it's the difficult property, difficult topography properties, I guess so yes, we can add that. I think it is on sorry.
Through the chair, that is on the list as alternative subdivision development
Oh,
standards.
this is what alternatives, okay.
All right.
And that's the Malcolm and Spillum subdivision.
Malcolm, yes. Okay. Thank you.
And then if you guys are up for just a brief city manager's update, I hope these are beneficial. If they're not, please let me know because I know they take a little bit of time. I did include the city manager's report from the last city council meeting on September 22nd in your packet on page 37. There are some updates to that, so you guys get a little bit ahead of the council since the last meeting. For instance, this city manager's report discusses that there would be a site visit with Kay Beener. That site visit did take place on Monday. It was an excellent meeting of the minds. It was in reference to a NIFWIF grant that we submitted for a hydrology assessment of the community. And it's really neat because it goes, if we get it, hopefully they do awards in November, but it will assess the recharge and discharge areas around our watershed, evaluating that whole area of the watershed, and then potentially all the way down into the lagoon in the bay. So we're going to go freshwater to saltwater talking about our watershed, our wetlands, and then our impacts to the bay and our marine wildlife. So it's kind of exciting to think about how they all connect, and that also in discussing that with those group of individuals, our talking about our new sewage lagoon connects, talking about our stormwater drainage improvements connects. So just some of these ongoing things that we're working on, and how they're all kind of headed towards the same direction. So that's really neat. We continue to work with AML for grant writing services. They completed a couple of grant projects or grant applications for us for the historic boardwalk, as well as the waterfront boardwalk, the waterfront harbor boardwalk. Those would both be planning projects. Hopefully we received them. They asked what was next on our list of wants, and I put at them a housing needs assessment, because we've talked about that recently, completion of the value added building, and a planning on project for a heavy equipment and emergency storage building outside of the inundation zone. So if you guys have other projects you'd like to see, also let me know. We completed our sanitary survey. Todd Cook was here last week, and the booster pump is installed. So again, another update from the council before the council gets it. We have a new ADEC remote maintenance worker. That's for water treatment plant, and that they'll be here in November. We're working on an alternative method of system supervision, which is for the water treatment plant, because we don't have a level 2 water operator. We have to have an alternative method of supervision to be able to meet the compliance for that. And that means that we have hired on Todd Cook out of the city of Homer, and his off time, he is our remote supervisor, because he has the required supervision or required certification. He was here to help with the booster pump install, and he'll be here when our remote maintenance workers was here. He's done some training recently when he was here with Public Works on rebuilding fire hydrants, and looking at flushing the system again annually. That's not something that we used to do very regularly, but in the last year we've flushed it, and now we're going to talk about flushing it annually, just to keep sediment and everything moving through the system. We did talk also about the storm current detector, which continues to act up, and have made a plan to keep that on manual for the foreseeable future. It's not, this piece of equipment's been installed in a lot of water treatment plants across the state. And I think I heard something like only 2 of them are still operating. And a lot of people have tried replacing them, including the city of Homer, and it keeps acting up. So water treatment plant is acting well right now, and we're just going to keep going with what is working well. Alaska Technical Solutions was here, and they provide the IT for the city. So when we need assistance, they helped with the Zoom cart setup so that we could do these Zoom meetings, and just overall bigger IT needs. So they're going to help us with some of the recommendations from our cybersecurity assessment, as well as getting our network a little bit more streamlined between our buildings. Public Works crew is resetting their maintenance shop. If I didn't mention it before, that we did this big insulation project. So now if you walk into our maintenance shop, we've got a really great ambient temperature happening in there, and little soundproofing, and it just even in the most recent storm provided some more stabilization. So we spray foam that whole area, and it looks really great, and has made a big difference already. The SVFD repeater up at the school is in need of replacement. So that was ordered, and it's actually on its way, which is fantastic. We are looking for a facility coordinator for the SOC. Lisa's last day was the 26th. So if you guys know anybody who is interested in helping with programming, that's a great way to get your foot in the door, and an excellent program that's run out of there. our VSW projects. We have 3 of them. The Seldovia Water and Sewer Overview Planning Project, the Seldovia Sluice Sewer Improvements Project, and the Seldovia Sewer Treatment Improvement Project. I am really excited to say that the solicitations for those projects has finally gone out. So we're making progress on those, or VSW is making progress on those. Jackaloff Bay Dock replacement project, the draft environmental assessment was submitted to MARAD. I am really sad to report that an individual who is completing the environmental assessment was furloughed today with the government shutdown. So the grants manager is still on and he's working, but the environmental review isn't making any progress at this point that we're aware of while that individual is not available. So we'll check in and see what can be done about that, but it may delay the project a little bit. The uplands, I'm really excited that I did receive that final finding and decision today. And so it's got a 20-day period where it can be appealed. And then as long as nobody appeals it, we'll sign off on it. There's a fee for that entry authorization application. And then we'll have to do a survey and land appraisal so that we can enter into a lease with DNR for those uplands. And we're still waiting to hear back from DOT on whether they're willing to work with us to clean up that area out there. With that, let's see here. I think most other things you guys have been apprised of. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm just checking my updated list here. See if I missed anything. Nope, I think that covers it. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Oh, one more thing that should be on here, but isn't. So as you mentioned, Commissioner Sweet, the city council did have, and we should put this back on your guys' list. This should be on here, comprehensive plan. So the city council did have 2 work sessions on the draft comprehensive plan. They focused on questions that the AML received from the Planning Commission and from staff, and had some really great feedback, some really great recommendations from the council. They're going to finish doing the review individually and provide comments back by October 14th. We will have a couple of new council members after the elections. And so that certification for elections happens on October 13th. And once we get the new council members acquainted and sitting, then the hope would be and the draft is able to be updated with the comments received from the council. We're hoping to schedule a work session at the beginning of November and discussing that with City Clerk Diamond. We think that it could be beneficial if it was a joint work session between the City Council and the Planning Commission to talk about that final draft and see if there's any last minute edits or additions that are needed before it goes to the public for a public review comment period. So you guys can put that on your calendars to think about beginning of November, having that joint work session.
And that, this is Commissioner Sweet, that draft of the comprehensive plan will actually also include their graphics and other things.
Yes.
So it'll be almost ready for public review at that point.
Yes.
So that concludes the city manager's update. Thank you so much and congratulations on all of that amazing work. The next one is informational items not requiring review. So just communicating that the absentee in-person voting began on September 22nd, 2025 at the city office for borough and city elections. So you're able to do that.
Yes, and through the chair, it should also state that the elections, 2025 elections, will be held on October 7th. So that will be here in the multipurpose building. So please vote absentee if you need it beforehand at the city office. And if not, then election day, October 7th here in this room.
And then are there any, this is comments of the public? Are there any comments from the public? And I don't believe there are any comments online, any public online either. Thank you. Any comments from the commission? Commissioner Ryan, do you have any comments?
Yeah, it was good to hear about this from the freshwater to saltwater overview of the whole watershed situation. That sounds like a great planning endeavor. And also, I think I might be present for the November meeting, the regular planning commission, and then the other one that was just mentioned that's already lost my head. Oh, the comprehensive plan review or update. Yeah. That's it. Good meeting.
Thank you. And Commissioner Kroll, do you have any feedback, comments?
Yeah, good job.
Thank you. So our next regular meeting will be on November 25th, or sorry, November 5th, 2025. And with that, motion to adjourn. And that's it, right? Or do we have to?
You have to have the motion.
Oh, could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. And that's,
You still need a second. Sorry.
oh, sorry. And then if I could have a second, sorry, I guess I'm getting excited about the motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Kroll. So we are adjourned at 7:18. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.